He works with changing the clock, but in order to keep it uniform, so you make the whole Zman, that one when they change it. So that's why it'll be at 11 o'clock. Okay. Asino Shemayim, they're talking about the making Adis. The Rebbeinu Shalom, I mean, what are you, two witnesses, what kind of witnesses? These are not, they're not kosher witnesses. Now, what do you do? But means that they are the ones that are going to do the punishment, because the din is when the Adim come, and Adin, when the Adim come, the other Adim they're the ones that have to do the punishment first. In other words, because you saw it, you're the one that's testifying. We're only relying on your witnessing. So the witnesses have to do the ma'aseh themselves. You can't say, I can't do this and let the other guy do it. And no, you have a chiv of doing it yourself. In other words, because they were evil on it. Obviously, it's not, you're not guilty. You're not this. That's what you have to do. So the Shemayim V'Oretz, which controls the everything, the growth of everything in the world, you need the rain and you need the soil, so you need the things. So that's the one that's going to feed you. So they're the ones that are going to listen. They're the ones that are going to be the hands onto you first. Okay. Now Rashi wants to compare. In other words, we want to now straighten us out. They're going to be the aid of what he called it. I'm going to tell Klal now, Klal Yisrael, Yav Kamot Likri is talking to the Jews, to us. Tizal Kamal and Rossi. I want my words, the Torah that I'm going to teach you, that it should be like rain and it should be like tal, like dew. In other words, and then also I want the Kisirim, like strong winds. That's Rashi's title, what Seforim means, is strong winds. Alideshe, for grass. And I can only say that I think that the biggest raya that you need strong winds for certain types of things, which is tvua, is the fact that the tornado states are the states that are the wheat states. The grain, in other words, that they grow the wheat. Now, the whole Midwest, straight down, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, those states have all the what do you call it? But they all Kansas, but they grow the wheat. So they're the ones that have the wheat. So that strengthens the wheat. That has the wheat. It's necessary. And Chelvivim Aliyesev, that's raindrops that go on, and Esav they both mean, Desha and Esav both mean grasses, but one is a specific blade of grass, which is Ali Esav, the blades of Esav, and Ali Desha means like a more smaller grass, which is a bunch of things. The difference is that they want to tell you that the Torah sometimes hits you when a person needs it. He hits the idea that he needs, or the musa that he needs, the pasuk that he needs. The thing comes when he needs it. And that's Kirvivim Aliyaseh. In other words, I want, if when there's a general, it should make you a better person, no matter affect you in general, and then specifically for whatever your needs are, it should hit you. So it goes either according to midos, the person has certain midos, because that he sees the Torah a certain way, or certain things, whatever it is, but he sees it more personalized, and that's basically what it means. And Rashi says an interesting thing. I'm sorry, before Rashi, why do I want my words to be like that? Because for a person to become strong, whether physically or in Munah, psychologically, whatever it is, how do you train yourself? You take certain things happen to you, and then you take something that's more difficult, and you can live through that part. Let's say, for instance, a guy wants to go into betochen. He needs $5. So he works on $5, right? $5, no big deal, right? But it took something from him, and Baruch Hashem, now $5, he has enough betochen that whenever he needs $5, it's going to be there. Now I need $100. They have the same betochen. Now my whole empire is going to be totally on this thing. Do I have betochen now? Now, at what point do I test? Every time I'm really tested the same thing, but at a stronger level. And that makes me ultimately strong. I'm going to be able to withstand big nisyonis. But the idea is that I'm living my whole life on a basic nisoyan of the first thing. And I mean, I don't know if it's any different. I mean, I try myself to know things about these things, and to say, you know, I conquered it. Let's say, for instance, a person says he's honest. You know, how do you know you're honest? I found $5 and I returned it. Okay, so you know you're honest for $5. Okay, how do you know you're honest for $10? Right? I don't know that. Right? I don't have an assignment for it, so I can't tell you for sure. Right? Come an assignment of $10, I'll know $10. It comes to $100, $100. I can even have a big nisoyan that to gain money, I can even prove even $1 million. It wouldn't impress me. That doesn't make me think. But what about losing what I have because of honesty? For instance, since I have a pikotin by me, and the point I have my whole empire, which is billions, is totally on $10,000. And why? Because I have to pay the first mortgage, which the next mortgage is totally on, and the next mortgage is totally on, the next one is due today, and that's $10,000. But my empire itself is worth billions. I have thousands of buildings I own, right? But it's all totally on one. When I bought this one, I put in equity into it. After I had equity in it, I took out a mortgage on it. And what he called, I still that by equity I put up for the second building and took out a mortgage on it, and then for that equity I put on the third building and the fourth building. So all my money, but I still have a mortgage on the first one, and if I forfeit my mortgage, they're going to foreclose on that first building. They foreclose on that first building, then I don't have anything to back up my second building, or anything else, and the whole empire is going to fall apart. So I have $10,000 of mashkim by me. And will I now say, you know, I have to ask that person, I can't reach that person to ask him if I can use his money. Will I take it myself or not? Or maybe I won't even ask the guy. I say, I have it, he'll probably want me to do it. Why don't you ask him? I'm afraid he won't want me to do it, so therefore my whole empire is there. Are you honest now in this case? Or now you're not honest already? I'll take it. I intend to pay it back. Well, what happens in the end? It didn't pay back. The thing fails, and you can't make that mortgage, and it didn't help you. And meanwhile, the money is gone anyway. Now everything is in service. So a person has to keep strengthening himself in all his beliefs. That's very hard. That person to go through each time that nisoyan of going through is a tremendous challenge to him. And the thing, but without that you don't grow. So he's asking that if we did that, then everybody has to have big nisyonis and stuff like that. So the rich people are going to have different nisyonis than poor people and so on. Let the Torah be the nisoyan. In other words, by the fact that when we analyze the shaila and the thing and the stuff, we are thinking in practicalities, and therefore that should be the nisoyan. That's what I think he means. That my words should be like life. In other words, you don't have to, learning Torah is enough to give you the keches achayim. You become a maimin in the Torah. You don't have to be maimed by the fact that you see the Benjamin came through. So Rashi says, why do you need the much of kamoto and katao? Because moto, not everybody's happy with moto, with rain. Why? The world needs rain, there's no question about it, but I don't want to get stuck in the rain. And if I'm on a trip, I'm going to get soaked, so I'm not happy with it. On the other hand, I realize the world needs rain, but I don't need rain. Okay? And what tak is the biggest bracha we have? Mi'at Hashem, when the Beis Hamikdash will be standing and we'll be doing the Rebbeinu Shalom's chotzen, then it'll only be raining on Friday nights, and when everybody's home, and whatever it is, in the rest of the time, it will be dry. You can go and there'll be things. There won't be anything. We won't be inconvenienced, and there will be enough rain to cover the world. So whatever we need. Okay. So he says, but tal everybody's sameach with. You know, I said, I don't believe that that's so. I mean, I only know from my personal experience in the country that, you know, it's pretty dry. Get up in the morning and you got to go to shul, right, to the Beis Medrash. So there's no sidewalks necessarily, so you're going to cut through the grass, or you're walking through the grass. You had a nice crease in your pants before you started walking, and now all of a sudden your cuffs are all soaked, and what they call it, and the crease is going to go away. What do you call it, the shine on your shoes is going to be, it's going to get wet, and then what do you call it, and it's going to get a blot on it, and you need to polish your shoes again. So you're not very happy with it, but it's a lot better than having to get the suit pressed and stuff like that. It's a lot easier. It's still presentable. It's still what do you call it, but it's an inconvenience. Okay, so you can't say everybody's happy with Tao. They said it depends. It's like how you learn things. The Torah made a world. In other words, marriage, whatever it is there. And if your person sometimes has to come to a situation where the marriage doesn't work out, you need to get, right? We know there are a lot of tzoros, about getting sometimes. You know, people don't want to give. What do you call it? People want to try and sneak it out of somebody. Whatever it is, often force someone to give it. Whatever it is there. And sometimes it's okay. It didn't work out. We give a get, and it's done. It's finished. We don't have no case to tell us about. It's not pleasant. Not going to be pleasant, but it's not a drag. It's not a. You didn't make me grisa tzoros because of it. I think that would be the mushal between if you keep the Torah the way the Torah wants to be kept, what it is. This happened once. I was speaking for the Efrim scientists. They had a convention. I was their speaker, and I spoke about this. And as I finished the speaking, a woman that was there said she's an aguna. She's got a conservative. And she said she's an aguna, and the husband doesn't want to give her a get, and whatever it is there, and the thing there, and there's so much trouble, and she's already sitting for years, and what do I got to say about that, and something like that. And I asked a simple question. I said, you know, I would think that there's when a person gets married, the fida dinim, meaning I got married for the tachlis of the Torah to build a bayis nemba Yisrael. That was my tachlis. I think there. I didn't look in for anything else. Obviously, everything I get pluses. A beautiful wife, a rich wife, a coveted family is wonderful, but that's not what I got married for. something happens like this, that we have to part ways. So it's going to be like Tal. It's unpleasant, but it's going to be easy. But sometimes I got married for different reasons. I was Neisi Isha Mishum Zanus, I was Neisi Isha Mishum Mammon, Neisi Isha Mishum Kovid. Didn't do it for the real reasons that I'm supposed to do it for. And now all of a sudden there's something happened. Now there's those people, that type of a get is a very hard get to get. There's fighting. One don't want to give, one wants for you to give it into the get, and there's where you have it. I think if you live the Torah the way you're supposed to live the Torah, it's going to be Tal. That's what I mean. Even the difficult parts of the Torah, it's going to be Tal. But if you don't live it that way, you do certain things not kifi the way you lost in Torah's Baruch Hu, suffer, and then the way you live the Torah is going to be moto. It's going to be moto. Okay. Reish of them talks about over here about that the Reuven Shalom is the only is right. Now he's the only dynamis. He knows things, and people will feel things are unfair. Right? So there he tells you, you have to look about it again. Shiches loy, loy bono, loy. He's not the one that makes the trouble. He's not the one that shiches. It's bonov mumam. His children are the ones that are making. Meaning, look for the chesoron in you. In other words, whatever went wrong, it's not the Torah's unfair. It's I did wrong. And you find that the Baricham is the dynamics. It's very, very hard to do. I'm saying, especially if you're convinced you're right. But Lamaisa, you have to look into yourself and know that whatever happens to a person is min hashemayim. So this is supposed to happen to me. Now, why is it happening to me? I don't know. But look into it that the Benishim is right and I'm wrong. I believe that this is what the slichus that we say Shemei Tefillah is trying to say, that the Chol Amim, there's no Chachamim that are able to understand this point, or at least to teach it, and the point that the Benishim is the Daina Emes, and you have no say in it at all. That means the tremendous bittul in yourselves. They can't imagine a God like that, because human intellect is going to be so much greater. Than what we don't understand, and it's not right. Or whether, like people say, if I don't understand it, I don't do it. That means that my das is more than God's das. It's really silly if you understand it. But even if you don't understand, that's a betachon we ask from everyone, we should understand that God is greater than you are. God's seichel is greater than you are. And if he says this is the way it should be, then I have to figure out, if I don't agree, that there's something wrong with what I'm thinking about it and why that's wrong. And that's the point. That's why they no religion except us, Taki, that can be mevatel ourselves to such a degree to the Reuven Shalom, because everyone is based on the seichel. They know most of it, or all of it, are based on the seichel of a human being that put it together. So why are you better than me? Now it's you understand it this way, I understand it this way. So therefore, the God can't be more than the person. But by us, we know the Reuven Shalom is the Reuven Shalom. So therefore, he's always bigger than us, and then we know that. So therefore, we can be mevatel ourselves and say that, that whatever we're doing is wrong. We have to figure out now why it's wrong. That's true.
What happened by Nineveh? Nineveh, we see they were a Goyish country. They were also mevatel themselves. By Nineveh.
By Nineveh. That they were able to do it, you mean? They believed in God. That's the only thing, but not in Avodah Zarah. But if you believe in God, you can do it. But that's why it's a God which is when it says there that the b'chochmas b'goyim, meaning when we're looking for avodah zarah, that's invented by people, they can't imagine such a God. A God that we are bottled to. Now you'll say maybe we do have avodah zarah like that. Could be the Melech, could be, and could be the Baal is like that. And maybe for two reasons we can say those two things. The Melech, you see the Torah mentioned specially in a few places. Usually with Arayas it says the Mavabon of Melech. You know, I'm not going to forget about him. He said, why is he different than any other avodah zarah? What's the different Baal Perach? It doesn't mention I'm going to get that. The ones who went after Baal Perach is Hishmid. But Lamaise, that to say that you're not go after Baal Perach, they didn't take an avodah zarah. You can't go after avodah zarah. Because those are what the Taina is, it's complete obedience. The only one that demands complete obedience is the Torah, right? In other words, what do you call it? And the taina on them is, if you're ready to do complete obedience without understanding, somehow some crazy laws that whoever made them up, or you're going to live doing the Torah, but I'm going to do the Torah through a different, not saying the Rebbeinu Shem gave it, but an avodah zarah gave it. And that is things. So even when I'm doing the Torah, you're not destroying the world because you're doing what the Torah said. But the taina on you is why didn't you do it because I gave it, not because avodah zarah said it. That's the point. That's the thing there. That could be why Ya'akov was able to, Yeshua was able to eat the yayin of this the Gemara's Kashin and Chum. He says there how to eat the meat. When Yeshua visited Ya'akov, they made a suda for him. So how do you use Ya'akov is a Nevid avodah zarah. He's a kafir by avodah he's what he called b'chol ha'Torah kula. So therefore I can't eat his meat. I can't eat anything. So how did they eat? So the answer was Ovadia made it. Ovadia shechted. Okay, so that's the meat. So what about the yayin? So Meir answers over there, it's Koydem HaGzeira. So the Shiva is, they said, what do you mean Koydem HaGzeira? Koydem HaGzeira is if it's Stam Yenom, so then you can say it's Gzeira. Achav is never avodah zarah. There's some yayin nesach you chesed for. You're not chesed for Stam Yenom. He says the difference is Achav did the Torah like a Jew, not like a goy. So therefore, lo tishpechenu kamoim. Any wine that was dedicated to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he didn't drink. Now, he didn't drink it because what I drink makes me holy. That's not what his kavan is. We're going to do that. In other words, cannibals, they eat their enemies. Why? Because they want their bravery. The Christians eat the what's it called again? The communion. When they eat that, so they eat yoshke, symbol of yoshke's flesh and blood, and so they become holy. And therefore, a person is menasach his yayin all the time, a good from a goy, because I want to get from. And by drinking all this holy wine, I'm going to get more religious, so I'm going to make it holier. So I want to get to drink wine. So I may always, why are the people always menasach yayin? I mean, what are you, crazy? They're so religious. Every second of menasach yayin. Except that the pshat is because it's the easiest way to get holy. I'm a drunk and I'm going to drink the holy wine, so therefore I'll become holy. We don't believe that way. You don't become holy by drinking holy wine. You can eat certain things that are a mitzvah to eat, but not because I'm eating holy stuff. It's because that itself is a mitzvah. Kachim or something like that. But it's not because I'm eating holy stuff that I become holy. And therefore, so therefore he wouldn't eat it if it was menusach yayin. So therefore we can trust him. I'm saying, but the tain on him is more. So why didn't you follow the same Torah? Because God gave it. Why do you have to go because the Baal gave it? Anything go. Okay. It says over here, "B'hanchel el yogoyim ba'afride b'nei Adam yatzev gvul esam mismnei Yisrael." I never understood this really. He made the borders of Goyim according to the amount of Jews. Does it mean that China is as big as China is because we have a few million Jews in the world? Is that what it means? And Greece or Germany, smaller countries or whatever. The United States has this, and the United States is not even one country, and it's and the population differences between us and China is so tremendous. I mean, yet the land on mass, I don't know if it's that much different. I know China's bigger. I don't know how much bigger. Or they'll take Canada has less Jews has less people than America, and it's bigger than America, than the U.S. And you go from there. Okay. So that's what bothered me. I didn't understand it. I don't understand it. So I thought of something, maybe this could be pshat, that the Rebbeinu shall put us in Golus, or put us in situations where we're going to have to deal with Goyim or whatever it is there. And sometimes we're going to have to live under them. So he made them as big as he needs to make them, that whatever he wants them to be, let's say the United States, for instance. The United States permitted us to be Yidden, which is pretty much the only country that really did that. The most liberal country in the world was the United States, as far as we have freedom of religion. We have they even help us, support us, whatever it is there for Torah and whatever it is there. So it's a Meiradic country. And I think why do I need it so big? Because there are going to be Jews that can settle in New York, and they're going to settle in Los Angeles, and Jews they're going to settle in Chicago, and Jews are going to settle in other parts of the country, and therefore they're going to need the same laws that the United States has to give them that freedom, that they can grow to become Yidden and stuff like that. So the rule of the United States is as big as the Mitzvah Bnei Yisrael that needs them, and stuff like that. I was only thinking that in Europe it could have been Franz Josef in the Austro-Hungary Empire, where he was the most liberal, I think, of all the Goyish kings at that time before the Second World War, from 1848. He considered himself a Jew lover. I think they once asked him if he was one, and he claimed he was one, whatever that means. But they say his country was very liberal as far as the Yidden went, as far as what they were able to accomplish and so on and do. And because of that, the Rebbeinu maybe gave him more Menshola. He gave it to him definitely longer. He ruled from 1848 to 1916. They lost the war in 1917. 1918, that was after his death, and then the empire was broken up. Didn't make a difference anymore. But as long as he was alive, he was the emperor of a big country, of many states in there, Czechoslovakia or Bulgaria or whatever, all these other countries that were all part of that empire. So maybe that's what it means. I don't know. I really didn't know enough history, to know what the situations were, to know who controlled what. You have it maybe by the Parthians also, or something like that. That Rome never captured Parthia. And what it means, and Bavel was in Parthia. So because of that, the Torah was, even though the Romans were Ma'abed Torah in Eretz Yisrael, in Bavel, Torah was very strong. So again, the Rebbeinu kept the nations according to the needs of Klal Yisrael, not necessarily the numbers of Klal Yisrael, but the needs of the people of Klal Yisrael.
It would also be like what Rishi was saying, that we need China to be so big to produce all the Yiddish that
whatever they have, who knows, right? Or the Panosa was, or whatever it is there. And there was once Gerim in, I mean, not Gerim, there were Jews actually lived there. In Kyoto or something like that. I mean, some other, that sounds like more Japan, so I don't know if I'm right in the right town. I once had an article in Evan that was called, there was a street of the book, and what do you call it, let's see, of that, and that the streets in this town where yeshiva were like this, the yeshiva was here, this was there, that was there, and what do you call it, so they look like Chinese or they're whites, I have no idea. Anything else? Then it tells you, Vayishban Yeshua Vayivot. Now I can give you a lot of bracha, and ultimately it's going to affect you, and it's going to make do things. O Shemanto Sisa, or Viso Kosisa. Oh, it's the fatter you got, meaning the more megushim dicky you become, the more. Why? Why should it be that way? So I think it's simply the fight of the ego of a human. In other words, I got to take credit for something. I have to accomplish something. So if I learn Torah, okay, I'm learning Torah, so I know, I understand that it's, I'm giving up a lot to learn Torah, so it's the Bein Shalom, it's for the Bein Shalom. But Panose, you know, you say that comes from God, then you don't need me. And the truth is, that's exactly what the Torah tells you. That when in the Midbar, in Eikev, it says here, Loshin, Loshin is Amachilcha Mon Bamidbar Shelo Yodma V'Sechel L'man HaNoischon, in order to punish you, L'man HaSeischon, to test you. So my giving you the mon was the test. Before he says, what I give you mon, it says over here, Vayancho Vayariveka, I made you hungry, and Vayachilcha Samon, so I saved you with the mon. And now all of a sudden I'm telling you, what is the punishment? What is the mon? What's the punishment? The punishment is that the guy living in the midbar, if he didn't want to learn Torah, looked at himself and says, you know, I'm not needed here at all. They don't need any workers, don't need any tailors, you don't need any, what do you call it? You don't need nothing. No cleaners, nothing. You don't need workers, you don't need farmers, you know, what do you call it? The Bein Shalom took care of everything that we have. So I'm complete excess unless I want to sit and learn. So that means we sat and learned in the Seforim. So it's a realization that it's a punishment. Like when I take a look and I really believe that I'm not necessary, so then what are you doing here? Why aren't you learning? Why aren't you doing something? Okay, so I'm saying, so this is, if you want to tie in it, but learning maybe also is that way. And there's shitas that hold like that. That you understand because the Bein Shalom gave you the ability to understand now. But why do you do that? Because you put in enough keiches into Gemara that he gives you an understanding of it. Okay? So it's like a prepayment. So you put in enough, it's like food before Noach. You put in enough keach into something, so the Bein Shalom rewarded you with something. Now, he sometimes did not reward you with food. He gave you what do you call it? Kates Vidada, he gave you thorns and things there. I put in work, I planted wheat, I did this, worked hard for it, but I'm not ready to give it to you. So everybody realized that no matter how much work it is, when the Bein Shalom was satisfied that I put in enough work, that's when he was able to give me food, wanted to give me food. After Noach, when it became that when you planted something, that's what grew, so then all of a sudden it's Keichev Yosem Yodi. Guy starts to think out it. I'm the one that planted the wheat, right? So before then, whatever I planted didn't make a difference. It's up to the Rebbeinu if he wants to get me. So everybody believed in God. But afterward, the shayach a person to him. So when the person is successful, he has this ego problem that to keep himself, even though he's successful, that people give him a yashikeach and a thought and this, that you should still understand that the Rebbeinu did all of this and he does nothing. In the thing there, it's very hard. So therefore his ego keeps up, and that's where it's Vayishman Yeshua Vayivot. And you think over there, in order to justify these things, is that they all of a sudden have to put in other types of things and different ideas and different what he calls and whatever he calls. And then the Rebbeinu Shalom, during this teichach, I mean, not this, the bris really, it's not a teichach. It's just, you understand what everything depends on. That in the end, you're always mine. And God is always ours. But you're going to put on an act, meaning you're going to go away from me. Meaning you're going to claim you believe in something else. So I'm going to take somebody else for an I'm going to say, I promoted someone than instead of you. But in reality, it's just a play. You didn't take anybody instead of me, and I didn't take anybody instead of you. But it's a pretension. In other words, you're not ready to live up to the Torah. You're not ready to think this. So then, Shabbos, you're pretending you took somebody, so then I too will pretend. But in the beginning, the fact that he calls it a pretension, so he's Shabbos that he's really saying, I never gave up on you. He trusts us, and he believes in us, and that is the big mitzvah that we have, that we have to go with always to understand that the Rebbeinu Shalom is not burying us. We are what he wants. And the thing is, we didn't reach the madrega he wants. Maybe that's the thing there. We have to work on that. Of Lamaisa, we are the people that can do it. Another person can't even do it. Then he talks about the success of the goyim, which is something that we've seen. And not we, maybe only older people. We saw the Nazis in Machshma. And because of that, the shaila is Eicha Yid Lefecher Ela Fishnayim Yanisu Gavovo. They would have known, understand, it's impossible this. Ella, some of the Benishel did it to us. The Nazis were able to control many Jews. I don't know how many prison guards they had, but you'd have, let's say, in a Nazi concentration camp, you would have 50,000 people, 100,000 people. I don't know how much they had, but don't forget they would bring in about 20,000 a day, and half of them went to the gas chambers right away and stuff. So you have to have somebody to make them go, right? Now, one way of doing it is having 1,000 guards, 50,000 guards. Who knows how much you need for them, right? On the other hand, all you need is one guy standing there and saying that way, that way, that way, because there's such a fear. The Yid, he's so panicked that he's going to go and follow no matter what. And the Teichach talks about that the Yid in both Teichachas, a Yid in Eretz HaYivehem is going to have panic. one guy is going to threaten many. And that's the Lashon he has here. That's what he's in. And the same thing, he uses the Lashon in Kaisai. ואתם בארץ היבכם, אז תשבס הארץ הזה. ואנשום בכם, ויבסי מורך בובובם בארצס היבהם. That's when I'm first going to put the fear into you. So maybe a lot of times I say the reason Israelis can't understand the fear that existed over there, like, you know, and because somehow the Israelis are able to stand up to tremendous odds. How are you able to stand there? Why aren't you running? Why aren't you think there? There's no fear. There's no fear for God. Nothing over here. Logically, I have to fear. If there's 10 guys come against me, obviously I can't defend myself against 10 guys, so therefore I run. But as far as the heart beating, that doesn't happen. That fear is not here. Not now it's your soil. That's the thing, even as manazeh. And that's why they don't understand. But normally what should the Yidden have done? They should have charged, right? What would have been? They're all going to the Mesa. They're going to the gas chamber. Did they know it? Okay, the first ones maybe didn't know it, but the second ones already knew it, and the third ones knew it. They're going to the gas chambers. So how many you got? You got 20,000 people. Let's say that's usually what they brought in on the train, right? 20,000 people. So just charge. You got 50 guards there. So, but you charge them off. They'll shoot you with their machine guns. So they'll kill 1,000. So you have 49,000 left, and you kill out those 20. You got their guns, and you're free, and everything else. And what is there? Why did you go like Lemelach to the gas chamber? Because you had panic. The Beishim put that fear into you. It's not a thing. And that the Goyim don't understand. They told us their superiority that did it. That's why they came along with their superiority, the thing over there. Obviously they see now that they covered the Beishim. I think that's one thing that the Beishim shows to the ones that are around, that the Jews were always more superior than everybody else in everything. It doesn't make a difference. And well, this medicine, technology, that's where the Yidden are making Israel's making their money on, and these things over there. What do you call it? And stuff like that. So the Beishim, they see it, their army, their weapons factories, whatever it is, all of a sudden they're a major army, major force, major physical force. How many Jews are there? In the first thing, in Israel, how many Jews are there in Gansen? It's a small country. Well, what are you going to do there? And yet, it's considered a major power. What do you call it? Because a Yid has all that keach and the stuff like that. But we don't know that. We didn't know that. And even now, if Yeltsa Yevayim, we don't feel it. We still feel the panic. I live in a Goshen neighborhood and I'm scared. And what do you call it? No, it's Yisrael, I'm not scared. That's the difference. Then he comes along to the part that they really don't understand. And this is the part where we need trust. And more than trust, probably the Ikar Emunah that we have is this trust. What's the I'm the only one. There is no other God besides me, right? There was no helpers, no nothing. Ani omis v'achai, I kill and I make alive. I'm a chatzti, I'm hurt, and I cure. In a way, maybe if we would be taught to daven like that, I don't know exactly why we don't daven that way, but the instead of saying Rebbeinu Shem save me, we should be saying Rebbeinu Shem stop hitting me, and then I would know that the punishment is also coming from Hashem. So you're the one that's hitting me, so I've got to ask you to stop hitting me, not to stop save me. Save me from whom? From yourself? So obviously it means from the matzav damin. In other words, that's basically what you're thinking. But it's not the thing. And I think the Loshen in the Gemara, they always use the Loshen by Avodah Zarah, Shtei Reshuyos. Why pick on a Loshen Shtei Reshuyos? Maybe the Greeks, they have 100 Reshuyos, 1,000 Reshuyos. Why 2 Reshuyos? Because good and bad, nobody understands. In other words, the Christians, I can't say Machshman, but Christians, they believe that that good comes from Yoshke and bad is the Satan. Right? By us, there's no such good. There's no power to the Satan. We use Misholim sometimes. The thing there now is Eve would understand Eve a little bit like it's like a conversation point. But it's not. It's only the Rebbeinu Shem that did everything. There was no Satan. There's no way you go to Satan. He gave the eights. So he gave the eights if you want to talk. He gave the eights. But the Rebbeinu Shem, not the Satan asked for the power to do it. So who gave the power? The Rebbeinu Shem gave the power. So therefore, the Rebbeinu Shem that did it. So whatever, all the souls of Eve came from the Rebbeinu Shem. It didn't come from anybody else. The Satan didn't have any powers to give any pains and souls or whatever it is. The Rebbeinu Shem is the one that does it. So I'm saying it's so to understand that and to feel it, understand that means I have to trust in His justice. In other words, what looks bad to me is maybe good. And I think we see it every so often when we say what do you call it, Gamzu Taiva, that it's something that looks bad should become taka good. And I gave a mashal once before, I want to do it again. So it's a personal mashal. So therefore, they find out that something can look bad, and it turns out it was good. It was always good, like the Meister Nochem Ishkamsu. And that's a big thing to see that. In other words, so there's no such thing as bad and good. It's always what the Rebbeinu Shem wants it to bring out and what it wants to accomplish. And that's really what it is. It's a different way to look at things. That the thing is that there's nothing bad in the world if you want to look at one thing that way in the point, because everything has its purpose and its tachlis. Okay, and then it says, okay. Then the Rebbeinu Shem tells Moshe, it's time to go. This is the final time, and the actual death takes place after Zos HaBracha. But the idea is the tzivu was this is it. This is the final tzivu when he finally tells him what to do. And whatever it is, and he shows him everything that is from all time. So Moshe Rabbeinu, so in other words, the Rebbeinu Shem gave him that ability. Think about it. Is it a Ma'ila Chesohim? Obviously it's a Ma'ila because he wanted Moshe to know what the waiting Klal Yisrael, the good points and the bad points, the churban and the not the churban, and the big building and stuff like that, because he wanted them to see that Klal Yisrael doesn't stop. Klal Yisrael is always going to be there. It's always coming back. there's points that we were down. There was no question about it. I said, in my lifetime I've seen it. Not talking about Hitler, Yamach Shmoy, that too was a big killer. But Lamaisa, the parts that everyone was really worried about was the conservative reform movement. In other words, the orthodoxy or form or living up Yatera, whatever you want to call it, that's gone. There's no more of that. It's going to be over. Anything over there. The Torah is over. Anything there. And what is it? Right now, we're flourishing more than we ever flourished before. You can say what I mean by that. That even at the time of the Tanoim, which in time of the Beis Hamikdash, they were Amaratzim. Amaratzim to the degree that they didn't know how to read and write. And the thing, Dalton, the simple alphabets, they didn't know. In the time of Europe, where you have all the Gracie yeshivas and everything else, there were Amaratzim that lived, the farmers and stuff like that didn't know how to read and write, and the thing like that. So you have a lot of things that they weren't able to do, read and write. Now, nowhere in the world, if there's somebody that wants to learn how to read and write, you can always connect to somebody that will teach it and stuff like that. To be in our moritz, that there's no one there to teach me, that doesn't exist anymore. Or there's maybe people who don't want to learn, that you have. But Lamaisa, that they don't want to teach me, that the availability of Torah to every person, that only exists now. And stuff, the amount of people that are Maisa Nefesh Torah, our whole system of life changed. The women are running, are taking care. The men are learning Torah, Baruch Hashem, and stuff like that. And there's more, and this is considered the ideal way of living, and so on and so forth. This is a thing that only is an Adel, didn't exist before, and stuff like that. So maybe the things that we have reached a certain madregas and stuff. And Moshe Rabbeinu saw all this. He saw the downfalls, he saw the fall, he saw it becoming. And that itself is a simcha, I guess, in himself, that, you know, it's not dead. It's not dying. It's not a time going to come when it's dead. You know, it's over. It's not over. There's somewhere else it's still around. It's still coming up. And here it puts in the word me'altem as the ikechet, the thing over there. The loimantem, lekidashtem, me'altem, and risen. Those are the four lashonis they did. By hitting the rock and not talking to it, they did four things wrong. It really is only one thing. They didn't hit they were supposed to speak and they hit. But there goes motive into it, and this goes into it. In other words, why did I hit? Because somehow I tried to speak, it didn't work. And if you're going to ask Moshe Rabbeinu before, on what Madrega Klal Yisrael, I don't know if he would have jumped up and said, they're in the Madrega, if you speak to them, oh, they're going to listen. You say, no, they maybe didn't have a good shot in the head. Yeah, they're always looking for trouble. They're always getting me into trouble. They're always fighting with me, and they're saying, Dalton, so he's the guy on the ground. He's the guy in the trenches. He's the one that's fighting with them, and stuff like that. And you tell them, you know, these guys really are so big that if you just tell them what to do, they'll do it. You don't believe it, right? But God told me to speak. I'll speak. I'm not against it. I'll speak. It didn't work. So then I hit, because I panicked at that moment. I saw Chil Hashem coming about. So the next stone, I hit, no matter which stone. I don't care, the water should come out. In other words, but you didn't trust me. If you would have said, next stone I speak to, maybe I would have done that for you. And then you would have, but you didn't ask that, so you didn't trust me, that they were in that madrege. And once you didn't trust me, so then so then obviously you went against me. So like Kidashtem, you didn't make the Kedusha. They're saying that you're able that you guys are the madrege that I just should turn around with. Look at the rock. The rock is a stone. It's not a person, and once you hit it, you're able to talk to it. So people should surely be that way. So how come you guys are not acting the right way? And because of that, we had to wait for Purim to turn us around, to become a place that there was a time that has upon him. That was because before then we weren't zeicher to it because we never learned it because Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock. So they only saw you need a klap. We didn't have a klap, so therefore we never learned that. So this is basically the four things that okay. And then one more thing about the Haftarah. It says the Beniman talks over here. David the Shem Tsvia Shir Azais B'Yem Hitzel Hashem Oisem Mikav Kol Yevov from his enemies Umiyad Shol and Mikav Shol from Shol. Shol's an enemy, right? What's an enemy? An enemy is Mivakish Rosri. That's an enemy, right? But I'm not the same enemy as an enemy. The enemy that's a goy, enemy that's those are Trefnakis, Avshalom, or the Novo, all these guys that were Rishoyim, that wanted his demise. Those are Rishoyim. Those are Rishoyim that are not sitting there. Then there's a person that's a tzaddik. And for whatever reasons, he's my enemy. But he's my enemy in the sense because he wants to hurt me. Because for some reasons, he needs to hurt me for him to accomplish what he wants to accomplish. Whatever it is for Hashem. And maybe I can't put them together with the enemies. They're not my enemies. It's a different type of enemy. It's a thing like that. So a person has to realize that and recognize that. And I read down in the book a story with a very wise woman that had an anicle that she was choshed wanted to harm her. Whether it was that I don't know how he wanted to harm her. No, this I can't, or him or her. I don't know if it was what anicle it was. But she used to have a saying, of my son Yuzok. And using that terminology, whenever a bad thing happened, she would say, "Af meine Sonnen gesagt." Okay. Once she found out that she has an anicle that wanted something bad to happen to her, she stopped using that lotion. Because I happen to love my son. So, it's a different type of a sign. Maybe it's a bigger tragedy. But Lamaisa, the thing, it's not a hate. It's not hate, like regular hate. It's a different type of hate. And when we show B'Zeicha, that the Reuven has that hate with us in a way. He hurts us, but he wants us to come back. It's now before Yom Kippur. That's really the message that he wants. Come back, and you'll have everything you want. You'll have the Gula Shlema, and that'll be amazing. A good Shabbos and a good Yom, the Mar Simitei, everybody.